Okay, I'm on the front side of the homework, p61. Just going to go over a couple of the problems and kind of set them up for you. All right, number 4, we have x and y, x and y. Okay, our y values are the same. Our x values are both positive, so that means we subtract to find the distance. So that's going to be 3 units away from each other. Okay, number 5, we have x and y, x and y. Our x values are the ones that are the same. Our y values have opposite. One's negative, one's positive, so we add the absolute values. The absolute value of 6 plus 5, and that's going to give our total units. That's going to be our answer. So the absolute value of 6 is 6 plus 5, 11 units away from each other. Okay, over here, x and then y, x and then y. Our x values are the same, so we look at our y's. We have a positive and a negative, so we add the absolute values. 2 plus the absolute value of negative 4. And that's going to give you your total distance away. Okay, moving down to 7 through 12. Again, this is like the previous video. They gave us the first point. We have to come up with the second point. It told us, so we have x and y, x and y. It told us the y value has to be negative 2, so that's our signs that are the same. It told us the distance needs to be 5, so we have negative 1 equals 5. So we need to get 5 units away from each other. So we're going to want to add absolute value of negative 1 plus what equals 5. So the absolute value of negative 1 is 1 plus 4 would give us 5. So this x has to be 4. Okay, and again, you can graph that once you get the answer. I'm going to erase my work real quick just so you can see it a little more clearly. But once you get this answer, you can graph this point and double check yourself, see if it is in fact 5 units away from each other. Okay, so you can always check your answer on these. All right, let's go over to number 2. So we have 2, 4, and they told us the x needs to be 2 on this one. We don't know what the y is. So our x values are the same. So our y values, 4. And it needs to be 8 away. So what can we do to the 4? Well, we need to add 4. If we're going to be adding, remember when we add, just like up here, when we add, one of the numbers is positive, one is negative. One is negative, one is positive. So we have opposite. Here we have positive 4, so we need negative 4 in order to get that plus 4 here. So this y is going to be negative 4. Remember, when we add, we're adding the absolute value. So this is really 4 right here, plus the absolute value of this negative 4. And that's how we're getting that 8. Okay, let me do another one. We have negative 7, negative 5. So we have negative 7. It told us that negative 7 goes in the x. That's given to us. And then we don't know what the y is. So again, x, then y, x, then y. Our x values are the same, so we're looking at the y values. Negative 5, and it's going to have to equal 3. Okay. So again, I'm going to say we need absolute values, because if I'm going to go from negative 5 to positive 3, Let's see. Maybe I want to graph this one just to double check. I know it needs to be 3 away from each other. So if I'm doing absolute values, that's going to be 5 and 3. So what do I need to do? Well, that tells me I need to subtract. Because if I'm going from the absolute value of 5 to 3, I'm going smaller or less value, so I need to subtract. Now, if I'm subtracting, like we have on problem 4 up here, notice that both of our x values had to be positive. So they had to have the same sign. So since this is -7, since this is -5, this must be a negative number as well. 5 minus what is 3? 5 minus 2, so it must be minus the absolute value of -2. So my second point is -7, -2. Again, you can always graph these points as well to check your answer. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, here we have 4 and -1, and they told us the x has to be 4 on our next one, and it's a total of 6 units away from each other. Okay, so our x, and y, our x values are the same, so I'm looking at my y's. -1, absolute value of -1, equals 6. So absolute value of -1 is 1, and then I need it to equal 6, so I'm going to need to add 5. Okay, so that's going to be a 5, 4, 5, and again, we can always graph to check our answers. All right, I'll let you do 11 and 12 on your own. Let's look at 13. How far is the Ferris wheel from the roller coaster? Each unit represents 1 kilometer. So we have the Ferris wheel here, we have the roller coaster here, and we just count the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 and 4 what? 4 kilometers. And we can abbreviate that with km. So see how easy it is to find the distance between the 2 points when we graph them? That's why we spent so much time learning how to graph these points yesterday. Is because if we graph the points, it makes it very easy to realize the distance. Okay. Now on the previous problems, I showed you that you can find the distance without graphing them, but sometimes it's just immensely easier. There's a vocabulary word, immensely easier if you graph the points. Okay, at least it's immensely easier to see the distance. Okay, how far is the water slide from the restrooms? Well, here's the water slide, here's the restrooms, and I'll let you count that distance. And then just remember it's in kilometers. If you have any questions, raise your hand. Thanks for watching.